Hi, I'm Andrew Levine, the CEO of Koinos Group, where we're developing the Koinos blockchain. And in today's episode of the podcast, you're going to be listening to one of our blockchain architects and co-founders, Nathan. He's going to talk more about Koinos types, which we call the Rosetta Stone of blockchains, because it enables us to kind of teach blockchain to any programming language. But what we found while working on Koinos types is that we could make it easier for developers to use Koinos types if we created a specific kind of programming language designed for Koinos types. And we're always looking for ways to make Koinos easier and more friendly to develop on. And so that's what Nathan's going to talk about in the following episode.
Koinos types, we open sourced recently. It's a piece of code that allows you to specify the objects in a blockchain, and then automatically have them represented in other supported languages in the same form. It's like if you've ever heard of Google's protobufs, it's sort of like that, but with some key enhancements we made to ensure that you always you can get the same cryptographic signatures across different languages, which is important for a blockchain. So this language that I want to talk about is actually how you specify those types. Obviously the types that you want represented in the different languages, you have to declare them somehow. And for the first version, we just used C. It let us get off the ground quickly. C was one of our supported languages, so it was pretty easy to convert that C directly into the object for that language. But it's not ideal for a lot of reasons. What Koinos types does is it specifies the what of the blockchain, not the how, but the what. What objects do we have? And so we want a language that reflects that. C is a language that, like most programming languages, not only do you specify the what, but also the how. How do these objects work? And that is not something we need for Koinos types, since we're only describing the objects. And so there's some problems with using C. As you're trying to declare the types, obviously, if you're already familiar with C, there are a lot of tools that just don't, that you would have access to if you were coding something in C, but they just don't make any sense or do anything as for specifying the types in Koinos types. And also, being a language that specifies both the what and the how, C, sometimes they get sort of tangled up. So, in specifying the what in C, there are little bits of the how sort of mixed in that cause confusion. So we sort of ran into some of those problems pretty early on. There were things that we could do that we shouldn't do. Things that we perhaps shouldn't have had access to, that we maybe abused a little. And so while examining this, we realized that we need a language just to specify the what. That doesn't have you don't specify the how. There's no way to specify the how. It's its own language, and that's called a specification language. So so what we're doing is we're architecting that. We have a lot of cool ideas on how to make it simple. Very user friendly. The grammar is very simple. Custom tailored to just specifying the how, saying this is a block, this is what's in it, this is how it should be serialized, and in every language. What it will do is really button down the supported feature set. It makes it a lot simpler to understand how you need to convert these objects into the target language. So right now there are maybe certain degrees of freedom, certain things that the specification language, that using C as a specification language implies you can do, and certain things that you can do in a specification language that you really shouldn't. But they need to be supported to a certain degree for it to work. And so this will really iron those down, get rid of a lot of weird corner cases, and just make everyone's life a lot simpler for targeting a new language. We're trying to cultivate a super developer-friendly environment, and modularizing everything the way we are as part of that. Everything fits neatly into its own box that can be understood without necessarily fully understanding the other pieces, but they all work together really well. And so as a developer, it is easier to zoom in on the pieces you're interested in, understand or want to understand, and the boundaries between them are very clear and well defined. Another aspect of the upgradability, I mean, separate from the quote upgradability, having most of the functionality be living in smart contracts. This is speeding things up due to allowing tooling to be built in other languages more readily. We designed this from the beginning to not make any assumptions about what languages people would be using. As soon as you make the assumption that you've done something right, you're probably wrong. So, relative to other blockchains, it's not a screaming nightmare to add new language support, because we sort of designed the core of this to be able to plug into any language, and Koinos types is an important piece of that puzzle. We've laid the plumbing out to not make to make as few assumptions as we can, about what the outside ecosystem is going to be, and that that just makes it easier for everyone. And this is informed by we have some serial blockchain designers. We've seen a lot, and we're working from experience. We know the pain points, and that's informing these decisions. We know and we have a good idea of how to lay that plumbing to ease those pain points, and just make it a pleasant experience for developers.